In a place full of unknown mysteries. Grass, trees, mountains, even various living creatures. Some dangerous, some deadly. But who can survive in such an environment the best? We're bringing a new survivor theme that tests two different generations. Millennials versus Gen Z. Both groups have different skill sets, different experiences, and different survival strategies. But, along with surviving in the jungle, they have to survive each other. Only one will end up victorious in the end and be crowned the title of sole survivor. The thrilling question is who? The group of millennials? Or the group of Gen Z? Stay tuned for another crazy season of Survivor, this time being Survivor Millennials vs Gen Z. A truck arrives at the starting spot of Survivor Millennials vs Gen Z, and 11 millennials exit and begin walking towards their starting mat where Justin awaits them. In confessional, Andy introduces himself as a 30-year-old club owner. Being a millennial means more than just a generation. They are hustlers. They grew up with the internet when it first came around. They are capable of anything. As someone who built his own club from scratch, that just proves how strong and resilient he is. When he wants to achieve something, he will get his way. In another confessional, Jane introduces herself as a florist. Survivor is an experience she never thought she'd get to be part of. She never gave up, applying year after year, and finally getting on 5 years later. Going into this game, she wants to do what she does best. Grow new relationships, just like growing her own flowers at home. She speaks the flower language, one that very little people know how to speak. If she can speak flower, she can speak survivor, and that's the kind of upper hand she is going into this game. In another confessional, Kendi introduces himself as a 43-year-old mechanic. He's not only physically strong, but he's mentally strong. When people look at a mechanic, they see a man or woman who crouches underneath cars every day and get oil all over their clothes. But there's more to a mechanic that people won't see coming. While he is on the millennial tribe, he is a fluid person. He might not be loyal from start to finish. He's here to win a game for money. If he needs to betray, he will betray. The 11 millennials then stand on their mat and smile, and Justin welcomes them. The next group of 11 castaways exit their truck, that being the Gen Z tribe. In confessional, Bobby introduces herself as a part-time librarian, and then she suddenly screams at the sight of a spider and runs away. She then comes back and apologizes, and then retracts that and says she's actually not apologetic at all because she doesn't fuck with bugs. Maybe worms are okay. But why is she here? Because a girl needs to make money somehow. Through a reality show. Hell yes. She doesn't want to run out of her fashion choices at home. Mind you, this jacket is fraudulent. A girl is broke and needs her money. In another confessional, Gabe introduces himself as a veterinarian. He chose this job because he loves to care for animals. He once had a service dog of his own named Shirley. He struggled with a lot of mental issues when he was a teenager, but thanks to a lot of therapy and guidance in life, he finally feels alive and well. He wants to make Shirley proud. He's not going back to his dark place. In another confessional, Sam introduces herself as a 26-year-old construction worker. She came on to Survivor because she always dreamed of being on a competitive reality show. She's super competitive, but she has to hide that out here. People get easily threatened on this show, so it's best to make others underestimate you so you can get yourself so much further into the game. Hopefully she doesn't go crazy out here without her vape. The 11 Gen Z members then stand on their blue mat, and both tribes size each other up. Justin welcomes the group of 11, stating that they are the Gen Z tribe. Their ages range from 20 to 28, while the group of 11 millennials range from 30 to 43. Justin then turns to the millennials first, asking one woman in blue why she's not wearing her tribe's color, that being green. The woman then scoffs at Justin, calling him rude for not asking what her name is first. Justin laughs and apologizes, asking her to provide her name to them first, so she says her name is Renee. As for his curious question, she's not wearing green because she doesn't actually consider herself a millennial. She's young physically and mentally, so she actually considers herself blue. Justin then asks her if she'd swap to the other tribe if he gave her the opportunity right now, and Renee says absolutely. She doesn't want to be labeled old because she's not. Justin says he likes her confidence, and then he turns to the woman in the headscarf, asking her to state her name. She says her name is Rhea, so Justin asks what her response is to Renee's bold statement, and Rhea says she doesn't know this woman so she really doesn't care. If she thinks she's young, good on her. Justin nods and turns to the muscular guy, asking him to introduce himself. He says his name is Nick, so Justin asks him what puts millennials at a greater advantage over the group of Gen Z, and Nick says he considers the Gen Z tribe a group of babies who are still developing their brains. They don't stand a chance against the millennials, who are fully developed, mind you. Justin says he likes the spice so far, so he turns to the Gen Z tribe next. He points to the person raising his hand, and the man introduces himself as Casey, stating that he wants to respond to Mr. Nick. Justin tells him to go right ahead, so Casey asks Nick how the steroids have been going for him, and everyone gasps out loud. Nick makes a confused face, and one lady says he went way too far. Casey says he's truly curious, but Nick says he doesn't mind the question. In fact, he expected such a question from a youngling like him. His brain is still too young. To answer his question, he's all natural. Casey shrugs and says he didn't want to make things awkward, but Nick tells him it's all good. Justin then turns to the woman with ginger hair, and she says her name is Christine. Justin then asks her if the Gen Z tribe are about to surprise everyone this season, and Christine says they all probably have many hidden talents that the old tribe doesn't have. They'll find out as the season goes. Or maybe the millennials are right and they are stronger. They just have to prove it first in order for her to believe that. Justin nods and says he's very excited to get this season started, so he says he's going to hand both tribes a map to their camp areas. He then tosses the maps to the tribes and says they will need to build a shelter from scratch. There will also be a flint waiting for them at camp so they don't need to struggle making fire. They already have a hard enough task of creating a shelter for themselves. He also suggests they do so quickly because the forecast says it'll rain later today. With that, Justin sends both tribes off, so they all make their way out. In confessional, Laura says she has no idea what she has gotten herself into this season. Everyone seems super competitive and strong, and now she's a little bit intimidated. Hopefully all goes well for her and she doesn't get her skull crushed this season. It's officially the first day of the game, and at the Millennials camp, everyone makes an introduction circle. Renee starts off by apologizing if she came off aggressive on the mats, and everyone tells her she's fine. She then says that she was being serious when she said she truly doesn't feel like she fits under the millennial label. Natalia then asks her what she thinks millennial even means, and Renee says she thinks it comes off old, not to be rude to anyone here. In fact, she herself is 31, so maybe she is technically old, but she doesn't feel old. If anyone knows what she means. In confessional, Andy says he has no idea what Renee is talking about. In another confessional, Natalia says that most information coming from Renee's mouth just goes through one ear and out the other. This lady might just be clinically insane. In another confessional, Nick smirks and says he thinks Renee is going through some identity crisis over her generation group, which is something he never knew he'd witnessed before. Jane then goes next for the introductions, telling everyone she's a florist. If anyone knows what a crazy cat lady is like, she's basically the same, just a crazy flower madam. Thank God her husband is at home taking care of her babies. In confessional, Jane says she's going to find it difficult to contain her excitement over being on Survivor. It still hasn't settled in for her. But now, she has to breathe in and out and tell herself to shut up and let things happen. Let these people come to her with social chats and game chats. Stop being the main character. Omar then introduces himself as a music producer, and then Lydia says she's a key cutter. Natalia then tells everyone that she works in law, specifically as a judge currently for criminal cases. In confessional, Jed says that the tribe seems super basic and typical. People have boring jobs and their personalities quite honestly seem very bland and vanilla. However, in a matter of hours, this tribe might go insane because they will not let these people relax. Oh no. The gameplay is going from 0 to 100 and they will start running this tribe like it's the army. On the Gen Z tribe, everyone forms a circle for introductions, and Griffin says he'll go first. People can refer to him as Griff, or usually it's just his full first name, Griffin. He reveals he's a content creator, so hopefully he'll break the ongoing content creator curse where they usually go home early. Henry then reveals he's a 28-year-old therapist, and then Sam says she's a construction worker. Bobby then goes next and says she's a part-time librarian. Denisha comments how much she likes her outfit, and Bobby thanks her without smiling. In confessional, Bobby sighs and says she's trying to stay positive, but the condition of their camp area is extremely damp and sad. They are in a bloody jungle, so it's likely going to rain all the time too. She just can't stop thinking about how long of a journey this will be for her, if she even lasts long. She might even be the first to go, which honestly would just be a sign that this experience isn't for her. Christine then tells everyone she's a master's student studying biology, and Phil tells everyone he's a flight student. In confessional, Phil says he immediately likes the high energy on this tribe. There's a lot of personalities in the mix and he can't wait to get to know these people and align with those he truly connects with. Casey then goes next in the introductions and says he's 21 and a rapper. Sam then asks him what made him jump that one guy from the other tribe, and Casey shrugs and says he sometimes feels this urge to speak in the moment. It's like an itch. In confessional, Casey admits he may have gone a bit too far with the steroids comment earlier. He has nothing against Nick, except for the fact that he basically called the Gen Z children. He doesn't respect people who have that kind of attitude, so he spoke up at the starting mats. Casey then tells everyone he hopes that interaction doesn't frame him as some general asshole. He's really not like that. Denisha tells him not to worry about that. Everyone has their quirks. The tribe then begins heading out to find some resources, and in confessional, Gabe says that everyone went right to work on creating the shelter, starting a fire, and gathering some food from around the jungle. It's a pretty dense area, so there are bound to be some minor injuries here and there. As Bobby and Gabe walk around, Gabe asks if she ever went camping in her life, and Bobby says she has. But that was 6 years after being a fetus. She's not built for nature, let alone Mother Nature. Gabe then says that Mother Nature is definitely hitting them later today, and Bobby sighs and says she prays Mother Nature goes easy on her. In another part of the jungle, Christine and Henry walk around as they search for resources, and Christine asks Henry if being a therapist is extremely stressful or not. Henry tells her that there's no clear answer in his opinion. The best he can tell her is that therapists go to therapy as well, so perhaps that allows them to de-stress and avoid stressful episodes in the first place. In confessional, Christine says that her strategy is to feel people out on day one. She doesn't want to be the one to create an alliance right away. She wants to do that when she gets to know these people better so they trust her enough. Christine then runs into Denisha and Caitlin, and she asks them if they think an idol is out here somewhere or if it hasn't been hidden yet. Denisha looks around and says it's basically a needle in a haystack. It's way too dense to find anything. You have to be extremely committed to even find anything out here. In confessional, Denisha says she doesn't want to play hard right off the bat. Playing hard makes you look bad. It pushes people away from you. While she wants to find an idol for herself, she can't look around for one on day one. With the shelter under construction, Griffin and Laura work on starting a fire with the flint they got, and in confessional, Laura says she learned how to build fires when she was a teenager. Maybe it's not something she should even be proud of, but yeah, she and her other teenage friends would light fires in barrels and burn stuff. On Survivor, starting a fire is a bit different because you are striking a flint. But she and Griffin worked really well together to get one going. Griffin then strikes the flint and tells Laura to blow on the flame he's creating, and so she starts blowing. Then, a fire starts, and Sam and Phil clap for them on the sidelines. Laura tells Griffin she's so proud of them, and Griffin nods and smiles. In confessional, Griffin laughs and says Laura didn't do shit to start the fire. It was basically all him. All she did was blow. She better not steal the credit. If they share credit, he deserves at least 75% of it. On the Millennials tribe, everyone scatters around the jungle as they search for resources, and Renee and Natalia walk together. Renee tells Natalia that the moms need to stick together, and Natalia says she fully agrees with that. They never seem to win these reality shows. In confessional, Renee says that she needs to pick someone she'll ride this game out with, and she picked Natalia because she just seemed like the most willing to play a loyal game. She wants her under her wing as a soldier. Natalia then suggests they bring in Rhea as a third mom, and they can work as a trio. Renee says she doesn't see why not, and in confessional, Natalia says that while she doesn't like Renee's day one impression on her, she will respect a player when she sees one. Renee actively approached her with an alliance, so she's like sure, why not? Let the games begin right now. Nick, Andy, Jamie, and Kendi meanwhile chat as the shelter gets built, and Andy asks Jamie what his profession is. Jamie admits he's a poker player, but he hopes nobody sees that as a threatening thing about him. Andy says absolutely not, and that people need to stop playing this game assuming that a certain career has more advantages over others. Nick then says that he's strictly going to play this game based on in-game interactions. He doesn't care if someone is a lawyer, poker player, doctor, or even homeless. He treats everyone equally. In confessional, Kendi says he's finding this game very fascinating. The Millennials and Gen Z divide is particularly interesting because it truly feels like the Millennials are super graceful and strong. He especially likes hearing how this tribe values equity. As someone who has a strong African accent, he thought people would automatically feel disconnected from him. People can easily just align themselves with people they fully relate to. Someone who is the same race as them, or gender, or accent. But no, this tribe has a way different approach, at least that's how he sees it for now. Meanwhile, Lydia walks back to the camp area, and she sees the four guys chatting with one another as they take a break from working on the shelter. In confessional, Lydia says that she is a fan of Survivor, so going into it, she wanted to analyze her tribe before making any commitments. Right away, she's noticing some groups forming. First, there's the four guys of Nick, Andy, Jamie, and Kendi who could easily work together as the shelter boys. Then, there's Renee and Natalia who she saw walking and laughing together. That's a potential duo. Then there's Jane who seems like someone who doesn't have anyone she feels close to right away. Unfortunately, Jane is also someone that doesn't emit strategic energy, so that's not someone she herself wants to work with. Instead, she wants someone who is fluid in the game, someone who is strategic, and also loyal. Lydia then spots Omar in the jungle, so she approaches him and asks if he needs a resource buddy. Omar smiles and says for sure, so they both walk around looking for resources. Omar then tells Lydia that he actually respects other fans and superfans of the show, as he's also a fan himself. Lydia smiles and says she figured because nobody else on this tribe really smits Survivor fan energy apart from him. In confessional, Omar says he's hitting it off really strong with Lydia at the moment. This is someone he can see himself working with long term. She's strong, smart, and social, 3 qualities that make a great ally. He'll stick by her for now since he doesn't have his eye on anyone else for right now. As Omar and Lydia continue walking, Jane emerges from behind a tree and breathes out, claiming out loud that she almost tooted. She then jogs to a tree with an idol on it and tries jumping up to grab it. In confessional, Jane says she was just looking around the jungle and had the goal of finding some secret advantage or idol out here, and she found it just as she heard Omar and Lydia coming her way. So she hid behind a tree and then waited for them to pass by before she could attempt getting the package. Jane then continues jumping but cannot reach, so she breathes out from exhaustion and tries to think of a plan. Back at camp, the guys finish working on the shelter, and Jed comes by and celebrates due to their newly built shelter. Jed asks them how they did it so quickly, and Nick says it required a solid team effort from the 4 of them. Jed then gets into the shelter and lays down, telling them they'll test it out for them. The 4 guys stare at Jed and then look at each other in silence. In confessional, Nick says he has found Jed quite strange thus far. They aren't the best socially, making interactions with them extremely awkward and weird. Maybe it'll take time to get used to their personality out here, so he'll give them another chance at a better first impression. In another confessional, Jed says that their strategy is to come off quirky so people lower their expectations of them. Then, when it's time to run this tribe strategy train, they can easily gather numbers to create a solid vote plan against anyone of their choice. It's quite brilliant actually. A bit later, lunch is ready to eat, so everyone sits around the fire, ready to be served. In confessional, Jane says that she's extremely anxious about this package hidden on the tree. She can't reach it, so clearly she requires some sort of help. There's not a single rock out here that can be moved to give her some support. She also doesn't know how to climb trees. So now she has to find someone physically capable of lifting her so she can get the package. She assumes the package is an idol, so whoever she tells about it can assume the idol is shared between the 2. She knew exactly who to ask for assistance. Jane then asks Nick if he rinsed his running shoes yet since he got them dirty earlier, and Nick says he didn't get a chance to go to the well to wash them off. Jane tells him she can help him out with that after lunch, and Nick says he's good with that. Renee then asks what's for lunch, and Kendi says rice and beans. That'll probably be their meal 3 times a day. Renee frowns and says she already misses her luxurious meals from home. Especially her favorite bag of gluten-free chocolate chip cookies she constantly buys at Walmart. After lunch, Nick and Jane walk into the jungle towards the well, and Jane tells Nick that she needs his help while they are alone. She found a package earlier on a tree, but the catch is that it's high up, so she needs a boost. Nick asks her how high up it is, and she says she would need to stand on his shoulders to reach it. In confessional, Nick says he doesn't know how to feel about letting Jane on his shoulders. He's not built like the Hulk. Not to be rude, but Jane probably weighs more than him. He really doesn't want to get injured on day 1. Jane then shows Nick the tree, and he says it's pretty high up. Jane tells him she can just climb onto his shoulders and he'll lift her up, but Nick seems hesitant. He then tells her he can just climb the tree himself, grab the package, and hand it to her. Jane says that can work too then, so Nick starts climbing the tree. In confessional, Jane says she thought for a moment that Nick wanted to steal the package from her, hence why he preferred to climb the tree himself. But that would just ruin his entire game on the first day, so he wouldn't want to do that to her. Nick then nudges the package off the tree and it falls onto the ground, so Jane picks it up and thanks him. He then jumps down and Jane opens the package in front of him, finding out she found a hidden immunity idol that can be used after any vote to nullify votes on the person it's played on. The last time to use it is at Final 5. Nick tells her it's pretty rad that she found this idol, and Jane says it's now shared between the both of them now. Back on the Gen Z tribe, rain starts to pour in, and everyone hides under the newly built shelter. In confessional, Caitlin says that she has been on many hikes and endured the elements so many times, so a rainstorm out in the jungle is nothing for her. However, that isn't the case for others like Bobby, who can't stop sobbing to herself in the corner of the shelter. Caitlin then asks Bobby if she'd feel better if they talk about something, and Bobby says okay, though continuing to cry and shiver. Caitlin then asks her if she has a pet, and Bobby says she has a 4-year-old poodle named Katniss. Caitlin says it's a cute name, and Bobby says it was inspired by the character in Hunger Games, Katniss Everdeen. Caitlin admits she isn't familiar with Hunger Games, and Bobby drops her jaw and says she doesn't believe her. In confessional, Bobby says that she surprisingly felt a lot better after talking with Caitlin during the rainstorm. Though, it's still unbelievable that the girl doesn't know who Katniss Everdeen is. That's an icon that everyone should know of. Caitlin then tells Bobby that she grew up in a rural area, so she wasn't exposed to technology that much. She only read books. Bobby says it's originally a book, but Caitlin says she never stumbled across it in her granddad's bookshelf. Bobby then says no wonder, since his shelf was probably full of books about the Great Depression and farm romance novels. Caitlin laughs and says she's technically not wrong. Bobby then gasps again, saying how she doesn't even know who Peeta is. She then tells Caitlin that they'll watch the movie together once they visit each other. Meanwhile, on the Millennials tribe, many people scream due to the wind blowing rain through the shelter. Nick tells everyone to huddle closer to the edge where the rain doesn't reach them, but Renee and Natalia continue to scream as the rain blows into them. In confessional, Rhea says that she's truly embarrassed by her own generation sometimes. When they act like children rather than adults, she sometimes believes they are their own generation. It's day 2, and everyone arrives to the challenge mats for the first challenge of the season. Justin says good morning, stating how last night was likely eventful for all of them due to the rainstorm. He turns to Rhea, asking her how the Millennials coped with the rain, and Rhea says she'd rather not comment on that because she would sound like she's talking about the Gen Z tribe. Justin then turns to Phil, asking him how things went for Gen Z, and Phil says it wasn't as bad as they thought it would be. Their shelter held up pretty well and the whole group was supportive of each other. There's no shame for those who were a bit petrified by the rainstorm yesterday. Justin then says that they should all expect more unpredictable weather going forward. This is only the beginning for them. As for their first challenge of the season, immunity is up for grabs. The winning tribe of today's challenge will avoid visiting the first tribal council where someone will be voted out. In this challenge, everyone will need to dive into the mud ahead and crawl to the other side where the mat is located. Once all members are through, 2 members will need to use 6 barrels to form a staircase. Then, all members will climb this staircase and get over the wall. Once everyone is at the end, 1 person must knock down a baseball cap from a tall pole. The first tribe to knock down their cap will win immunity, safe from tribal council. With everyone now ready for the challenge, Justin counts them down and begins. Everyone begins running to the mud crawl and dive into the mud. As they crawl, many are very quick off the jump, while some straggle behind. Bobby begins to groan and cry out loud from the mud, and Christine tries to motivate her to keep moving. Meanwhile, the Millennials are doing exceptionally well, with most people through the course. Natalia and Jane are far behind, eventually ending up being the last 2 who need to get through. On Gen Z, multiple people finish the course, while Bobby, Christine, and Denisha still remain yet to finish. Christine continues to crawl next to Bobby, trying to keep her spirits up. After some time, Denisha finishes the course for Gen Z, and then Natalia finishes for Millennials. Jane is 3/4 of the way there, and her tribe cheers her on. Bobby and Christine also make it to the third quarter of the course, and then after some time, they both exit the course. Phil and Gabe begin moving their tribe's barrels, and Justin claims that those barrels are extremely heavy and might require both members to push them up. As Gabe and Phil place their bottom 3 barrels, Jane finally exits the course, so Nick and Kendi begin moving the barrels for the Millennials. Phil and Gabe try to lift their first barrel up, and while it's heavy, they manage to get it up on top of the end barrel. Nick and Kendi quickly catch up, getting their base done and then pushing another barrel together to the staircase. Phil and Gabe then prepare to push up their next barrel, and they do so successfully. Nick and Kendi then push their first barrel up successfully, so they head for their next one. Gabe and Phil then push their final barrel near their staircase, and Gabe tries to catch his breath. He then tells Phil that once they get their barrel up the first barrel, one of them should go up top and pull the barrel up while the other person pushes it up. Phil nods, so they both prepare to push the barrel up. Meanwhile, Nick and Kendi push up their second barrel, so they head for their last one. Once Phil and Gabe get their final barrel up their first barrel, Gabe heads to the very top and then tells Phil to start pushing. Phil tries to push while Gabe pulls, and Caitlin on the sidelines yells out to be careful not to tip the barrel over. As Phil pushes, the barrel shifts right, and the entire tribe yells at them to watch out. Gabe then tells Phil to push the barrel back to the center, so Phil does so before they try again. Nick and Kendi then have their barrel up in the same position as Gen Z, so Kendi heads to the top to mimic the same strategy. Both tribes start attempting to get their final barrel up, and it's Nick and Kendi who get it up top first. Once it's positioned properly, everyone starts heading up the stairs and over the wall. Phil and Gabe also get their barrel up, so Phil puts it in place and everyone starts heading up. Member after member, both Millennials and Gen Z are roughly neck and neck. As Natalia leaps down from the wall for Millennials, she lands really hard on her arm and starts to scream. Some people surround her, asking her if she's okay, but Natalia gets up and tells them not to focus on her. Justin then yells out if Natalia needs medical, but Natalia says no in a frustrated tone. Millennials then have everyone across first, so Nick tries to boost up Lydia on his shoulders to reach the baseball cap. Gen Z then also get everyone across, so Henry lifts Griffin near the pole. Both tribes are now close to that win, but then Lydia leaps off of Nick as she loses her balance. Renee then tells Nick she can get up on his shoulders, so Nick tells her to come. Meanwhile, Griffin gets up on Henry and nudges the cap without needing the ball, meaning Gen Z has won immunity, safe from tribal council. They all celebrate, while Millennials feel crushed. Back on the mats, Justin claims that medical will check out Natalia's injury to ensure she's okay, and they'll determine later on if she'll be allowed to continue the game or not. Renee begins to cry, telling Justin that this really hits the entire tribe hard. They all nod, and Andy says Millennials are strong. Natalia will pull through. They all have hope. Justin then says that while this is a sad moment, the game must go on. He then invites Gen Z up to grab their immunity statue, so Caitlin comes up and thanks Justin for this treasure. Justin then confirms that Millennials will go to Tribal tonight, where someone will be the first person voted out. If Natalia isn't back before Tribal Council, it means she is medically evacuated and Tribal Council will cancel. With that, everyone starts heading out, and in confessional, Renee says she hopes Natalia recovers safely. From one mom to another, she knows Natalia has the strength to pull through. Nobody is as resilient as her out here. Millennials return to camp after the challenge, and they all stand around in a circle, giving Natalia a moment of silence. In confessional, Omar says that it's fairly unfortunate Natalia injured herself in the challenge today. It's quite scary to witness because that injury could have happened to anyone, even himself. While Natalia is now temporarily away from camp, it's still important for this tribe to determine what will happen at the vote. Natalia could be an easy vote, but is that the best vote for the tribe? Omar later walks out of camp with Lydia, and they both sit down somewhere private. Omar then tells Lydia that he doesn't know how to approach tonight's vote if people assume they are voting out Natalia no matter what. Lydia says that the rest of today should be spent assembling a core alliance structure. The last thing they need is for another core group to form that doesn't include the two of them. In confessional, Lydia says that she's riding things out with Omar so far. They need to seriously lock in today and make sure they form some type of majority alliance. It's the only way they will move forward with some kind of safety. Lydia then tells Omar they need to figure out who they want in their core group. Omar says Natalia will be an easy pick if she comes back to camp. She'll go with the first person who approaches her with a voting option. Lydia then says that she can pull in Rhea because she has potential to be a great ally for them. Omar then says he can try getting Kendi and Jamie on board because they both seem like they'll be flexible players. Lydia then says they can maybe pull in Renee as a seventh, but the only concern she has with her is that she doesn't seem like she can keep secrets. In confessional, Omar says that him and Lydia went straight to work gathering their new numbers. He loves how he can play Survivor straight away, socializing and strategizing like how he always wanted to. While Lydia and Omar head back to camp, Andy tries comforting Renee near camp as she continues to cry for Natalia. Renee says that she never cried so much in her life, just for a stranger she just met 24 hours ago. Andy smiles and says that it shows she just has a heart of gold. Renee breathes out and says she'll be fine. She just needed to let it all out. In confessional, Andy says that he doesn't have it in him to vote Natalia tonight if she returns to their tribe. Nobody wants to be in her shoes, so nobody should therefore strip away this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity from her over some injury that wasn't fully her fault. He needs to talk with the guys and make sure they aren't voting for Natalia tonight. Meanwhile at camp, Nick, Jamie, Kendi, and Jane sit together, and Nick asks them if they have any ideas for tonight's vote. Jane says that Natalia would be a simple vote, but that's only if people feel comfortable writing her name down. Jamie then says that nobody wants to go home first, so while it sucks to be injured, Natalia might be the best choice for them tonight. In confessional, Jamie says that the best approach tonight is to make a simple move against Natalia. If she doesn't return to their camp before tribal, she's out. If she comes back, she's still out. It's simple and keeps everyone else happy for the night. Nick then says that he doesn't know if he can vote for Natalia like that. Especially because she didn't give up in the challenge. It took her whole body to shut down to force her to seek medical attention. In confessional, Nick says that perhaps it's his competitive spirit preventing him from voting for Natalia tonight. He really likes that lady's energy and effort for their Millennials tribe as a whole. Instead, he wants to vote out someone he simply doesn't get along with, and that's Jed. Jed has been an awkward presence to say the least, so taking them out first will make things easier for this tribe moving forward. Andy then joins the group, telling them that he feels like people are going to want Natalia out tonight, but he just wanted to tell them he's not going to go along with that plan. Nick says he feels the same way, and Kendi also jumps in on that. Jamie then asks them who they should do instead, and Nick says he thinks Jed should go. Jed might be a liability for their tribe because they just have this dark energy around them. Jamie then says that it feels more like an emotional move in that case, but Andy says he actually feels weaker while around Jed. Jamie asks how so, and Andy says that Jed doesn't have any self-awareness. They just do whatever they want, which could be an inconvenience for other people around them. Jane then says that she would be willing to vote Jed tonight if that's the consensus decision. Kendi says he's in, and Jamie says he'll do it in that case. Lydia later talks with Rhea, letting her know that they need to build a strong alliance structure before it's too late. Rhea agrees and says she can inform Natalia to stick by them if she ends up coming back. In confessional, Rhea says that she trusts Lydia the most so far. They have a great line of communication with each other so far, so that's someone she wants to proceed with. Omar meanwhile finds an opportunity to chat with Kendi and Jamie, asking them if they have any ideas for tonight's vote yet. Kendi then says that he heard Jed, and Jamie clarifies that Nick and Andy want Jed gone the most because they apparently annoy them. Omar then asks if that's something they both want to do tonight, and Jamie says he proposed Natalia's name but people seem pretty emotional about it. In confessional, Jamie says he definitely feels this disconnect with people in the game. Maybe it's the poker player in him that doesn't understand how much of a pull emotions have on the gameplay itself. Quite honestly, he's not a fan of this Jed vote because Jed seems like a strategic player. Meanwhile, someone like Natalia doesn't seem like someone he'd ever want to work with. Omar then tells Kendi and Jamie that he really wants to solidify something with them and some other people, essentially forming a majority alliance for their first vote. Kendi says him and Jamie don't necessarily have anyone they are working with, apart from each other if that counts. Jamie nods and says that if they can actually pull off a new alliance of 6, they might even be able to make a bigger move tonight. He thinks they could vote out either Andy, Nick, or Jane first because they are clearly turning into a trio. Nick has both Andy and Jane around his finger. Omar's eyes light up, telling Jamie he's super into this plan. Kendi says he's not opposed, but they need a solid structure before doing that move. If they don't have something secure, they need to go the safe route and vote out Jed. In confessional, Omar says he feels really good about this new alliance him and Lydia are forming. It'll be the two of them, Kendi, Jamie, Rhea, and Natalia. If Natalia leaves, Renee will replace her. Tonight might be a great opportunity to snipe out a key player. At camp, Jane, Andy, Nick, and Renee chat, and then Lydia and Rhea join them. Nick then asks the group if they heard what the plan is tonight. Lydia asks if they are doing Natalia tonight, but Nick then says it's actually Jed. They have been a pretty annoying presence around here, so it's best if the tribe just go for them tonight and keep everyone happy. Rhea says she would be happy to vote out Jed. That's all she has to say. It's a done deal. Renee says she's okay with this, and Lydia says she too is good with it. In confessional, Lydia says that she's personally okay sending Jed home first. If Natalia comes back, that's a crucial number for her new alliance. Jed meanwhile isn't with her alliance, so them as the first boot is best case scenario. Meanwhile in the jungle, Jed walks around searching for an idol or advantage, but decides to give up after finding nothing for an entire hour. In confessional, Jed says that they suspect an idol is still hidden on this tribe's camp, but it's way too difficult to find in this dense jungle. So now, they have to execute their next plan of action, and that's forming a new alliance to dominate this tribe. Jed later stumbles into Lydia in the jungle, asking her how she's doing. Lydia smiles and says she's doing fine. She's just heading to the well. Jed then asks her if she knows what the plan is tonight, but Lydia says she doesn't know for sure. She just assumes Natalia is going home, but nobody has vocally said that yet. Jed then tells her to keep them in touch if she figures out who the name is, and Lydia nods and says she surely will. Jed then enters camp where Renee, Jane, Kendi, and Jamie are, and they all say hi to Jed. Jed then asks them if they know what's going on tonight, and Renee admits to Jed that Nick and Andy want them gone. Everyone looks at Renee, and Jed laughs out loud. Jamie then says that it's mainly Nick who is spreading their name out. Jed then says they shouldn't let these alpha players take over the tribe. That's how the outcasts lose this game. In confessional, Jed says that they were pretty surprised to hear from people's mouths that Nick and Andy want them gone. But guess what? That won't happen because the Millennials tribe will be run by Jed. Nick and Andy are going to be surprised tonight as long as the outcasts choose to stick together. Jed then tells the group that they need to come together tonight and form a group of 5 together. If Natalia comes back, she can be their 6th. Jane then tells Jed that she'd much rather keep Nick and Andy around for strength, so maybe their next best move would be Lydia. Jed smiles and asks if Lydia knew about Nick and Andy's plan, and Renee says yes. Jed then says it's very clear Lydia is going along with those boys, so maybe they indeed should do Lydia tonight. In confessional, Jane says she actually wanted to steer this vote away from Nick and Andy because she really trusts those guys. Nick helped her get her idol, and he's pretty easy to manipulate. She can just go inform those two to vote Lydia, and then that takes away a strong player from this game who has zero association with her own game. Jane later finds Nick and Andy together as they try to find resources, and she tells them that the plan is changing. Nick asks what plan, and Jane says the Jed plan isn't going to happen anymore. Jed just came into camp and told herself, Renee, Jamie, and Kendi to do Lydia, and they all agreed to it. Andy says that nobody is actually agreeing with Jed's plan. They probably only agreed to their face, but in reality, Jed is the one going. Jane then tells Andy that this might be a great opportunity to take out a player with massive potential. Lydia is keeping her cards close to her chest. She will be unpredictable moving forward. In confessional, Andy says he really dislikes vote flips so early on, especially if it's an hour before tribal council. Suddenly, they are voting out Lydia, but this name never came up earlier. The plan was always Jed. Andy tells Jane he's against this plan because Lydia is a strong asset to their tribe. Nick backs that and says Jed is much weaker compared to Lydia. Jane shrugs and says she feels like half the tribe is voting for Lydia already. The three of them are in the swing position now, and they have the opportunity to make a major move for their first tribal council. In confessional, Nick sighs and says that he really wanted Jed to go home tonight, but maybe Jane is right. Maybe it's best to take out a player who might be hard to take out later down the line. Jed is a very easy second boot for this tribe. Lydia isn't. Maybe they should shoot their shot while they have the chance. With tribal council nearing, everyone hangs around camp, and then Natalia makes her way into camp. They all cheer for her return, and they each give her a welcoming hug. Natalia thanks them all for the kindness, and she tells them she's allowed to continue playing. Nick says they are truly all glad to hear that, and they couldn't wait for her to come back. Natalia smiles and says she really hopes nobody is actually voting her out tonight, and Lydia says she can perhaps hold private chats with people just to catch up on what has been going on so far. In confessional, Lydia says that her nerves skyrocketed when Natalia came back because now it confirms that the proposed alliance of 6 can officially come together. It's herself, Omar, Kendi, Jamie, Rhea, and now Natalia. In another confessional, Jed says they could immediately tell Lydia wanted to grab a hold of Natalia's vote, but that's not going to happen. Natalia will be voting for Lydia tonight, and that's a damn fact. In another confessional, Nick says he's really happy to see Natalia back, so maybe he should just talk to her straight up and tell her she's safe tonight. At least that garners some trust with her and it proves he wants to play this game with her. Lydia then asks Natalia if she wants to chat with her first, but then Jed says they'll actually talk with her first. Lydia makes a confused face, and Jed hugs Natalia, asking her if she wants to come to the side. Natalia says sure. She tells Lydia she'll chat with her afterwards. It's now night 2, and Millennials arrive to their first tribal council of the season. Justin welcomes them, letting them know that behind their seats are their torches, lit with fire. Fire represents their life in this game, and once it's gone, so are they. He then smiles and says he's really intrigued by the Millennials and Gen Z divide this season because it's 2 generations fighting to prove how worthy they are on Survivor. He then turns to Nick, asking him if today's challenge loss could be a hint that Gen Z will do better this season, but Nick says it's just 1 loss on the Millennials. They have many more challenges to go. Andy adds that going to tribal council right away could actually be a benefit for this tribe. It solidifies early trust because they all have to prove themselves at the vote. Gen Z on the other hand can't do that straight away, which might make them weaker going into a swap and merge. Justin then asks Natalia how she's doing after today's unfortunate events, and Natalia says she's feeling good. She didn't break any bones and her arm is fine now. It turns out she fainted at the challenge because of the combination of extreme heat and nervousness over fall. Rhea says that they are all extremely relieved she's doing well. They all wanted to see her continue playing and have a fair shot at the game. Justin then asks Kendi if Natalia might be an easy vote for this tribe, considering she missed out on 95% of chat time, but Kendi says they all pretty much agreed not to vote for Natalia. Justin then points to Jed, asking about their reaction to that, and Jed says they were never truly informed on a name by half of this tribe, so that makes them wonder if maybe people want them gone tonight. Justin then asks Andy if he knows what may go down at the vote tonight if Natalia isn't in fact the vote, and Andy says he knows. And in response to Jed's statement, most people here haven't gotten a chance to speak with half the tribe, so while Jed is valid to feel nervous, they aren't necessarily the only one. Justin then asks Jed if that makes them feel better, but Jed says no. They still feel like people are giving them dirty side eyes throughout the day, and even now. There's just negative energy all around. Justin then turns to Lydia, asking her if this tribe is one giant unit, or if there are separate groups forming right away. Lydia says she's unaware of any side alliances within the tribe so far. It's only day 2, so people are still getting to know each other. If she had to guess, tonight's vote should be a simple one. Justin asks Jane if tonight is simple for her as well, and Jane makes a funny face. She tells Justin that she really doesn't know. Nothing is certain in this game, so while one may think they are fine, perhaps they are the ones getting wrecked tonight. Justin then asks Renee if she thinks this tribe will be able to come together as a solid 10 after tonight's vote, and Renee says they'll have to wait and see. Maybe some feelings will get hurt as a result of this vote. In that case, it's up to those left out whether they want to stay united with this entire tribe or not. Justin then says that it's time to get to their first vote, and everyone prepares.
I'll tally the votes. If anyone has a hidden immunity idol and they want to play it, now would be the time to do so. Alright, I'll read the votes. First vote, Jed. Lydia. 1 vote Jed, 1 vote Lydia. Jed. 2 votes Jed. Jane. That's 2 votes Jed, 1 vote Lydia, 1 vote Jane. Lydia. 2 votes Lydia. Jed. 3 votes Jed, 2 votes Lydia, 1 vote Jane. Jane. That's 3 votes Jed, 2 votes Lydia, 2 votes Jane. Jane. We're tied. 3 votes Jed, 3 votes Jane, 2 votes Lydia. Jane. 4 votes Jane, 3 votes Jed, 2 votes Lydia. First person voted out of Survivor Millennials vs Gen Z. Jane.
Nick and Andy immediately stare at each other, and Jed looks around in confusion. Lydia keeps a straight face and Jane gets up and says she's so happy she got to play with them all. Kendi tells Jane they love her, and she then places her torch down next to Justin. Justin snuffs her torch, so Jane blows them all kisses and then heads out. Nick meanwhile shakes his head, still confused by this outcome. Justin then tells everyone to head back to camp, so they all start making their way out. Jane's final thoughts. Jane feels blessed to have been a part of Survivor. It's a dream she never thought would come true. She's so proud of herself for finding an idol as well. Sadly, it went to waste because she never saw her vote off coming. She honestly has no clue what went down with this vote and why people decided to vote her out. Maybe they thought she was a physical liability, or maybe they were actually threatened by her in the game. Either way, good on these folks for making a big move right off the bat. She'll be their best friend cheering them on from the sidelines. Back at the Millennials tribe camp, many people settle in the shelter while Kendi tries working on starting up their fire. In confessional, Andy says he only knew of 2 possible plans tonight, and they were voting out Jed or Lydia. Suddenly, there's a third plan in the mix because Jane went home with 6 votes, and neither him or Nick have any idea who was in on it. Nick then asks publicly if anyone wants to admit what happened tonight, and Jamie speaks up and says the tribe felt somewhat uncomfortable with him, Andy, and Jane trying to run things right off the bat. Nick interrupts and calls that complete bullshit, reminding Jamie that himself and Andy never dictated anything and always remained open-minded for group discussion. Nobody ever mentioned Jane's name. The common name was Jed. In confessional, Jed laughs and says that this tribal council went beautifully for them, whether people even realize that or not. Sure, Lydia got their vote just now because she was the only name out there apart from their own, but Jane going home isn't too bad either because it opens up major cracks in the tribe. Right now, the goal is to take advantage of these cracks and hopefully enter a new majority. It's the 3rd morning of Millennials vs Gen Z, and Nick and Andy are up early, searching for an idol. In confessional, Nick says that himself and Andy are on the bottom. The entire tribe flipped on them, so now they need to fend off their enemies and find some powerful tools to protect themselves. Little does everyone else know, Jane went home with the Millennials tribe idol, meaning it's now re-hidden somewhere in the jungle. If he or Andy find this idol, they can shift things around in their benefit. Andy and Nick look around every bush and tree, and they eventually go to the well and look there. Nick then sees a package and picks it up, immediately celebrating with Andy. They hug each other and Nick tells him this is their shared idol. Andy tells him this couldn't have come at a better time, and Nick says they need to use this to fuck up the other side. In confessional, Andy says he's really excited about the idol Nick has. Of course, part of him wishes it was in his own hands because the other 8 people on this tribe can just split their votes at the next tribal council. However, there's still a good chance that some of the stragglers decide to flip on the people in power. Later in the morning, Lydia, Omar, and Rhea chat at camp, and Lydia tells them that this is the core 3 of this tribe. In confessional, Lydia says she feels really good about her connections to Omar and Rhea. They are her closest people out here, and it's even better that they are in a majority on this tribe because it not only keeps them safe, but it also allows them to call the shots. She's specifically looking forward to controlling the narrative to force everyone to target Jed next. Jed has said her name yesterday, so the last thing she wants is for them to stick around any longer. Rhea then tells the two that she's starting to think that they should go Nick if he's still super pissed about last night, but Lydia says he'll get over it soon. Plus, him and Andy are forced to go with any plan, so if they tell those two guys to vote for Jed, they'll do it. Omar smiles and says he loves this game so much, he can't even hide his smile. Lydia then asks if they should come up with a name for their trio, and Rhea says they can be the Inner Knot. They have a bigger alliance around them, but the trio core lies here. Lydia says she loves this name, and Omar says that no matter how much other people try, their knot will never be untied. Meanwhile, Renee and Natalia chat, and Renee says she's so glad they can play this game together. She was so worried about her yesterday. Natalia smiles and says she too is happy to still be here. Renee then tells her they need to fuck shit up together. They won't let anyone run them over. Not even a bulldozer will break them. Natalia laughs and says she feels like a gladiator right now. She came back from the dead and is stronger than ever. In confessional, Natalia says she's obsessed with Renee and can't see herself going against her. They are both mummies who are looking for that big paycheck at the end of the game. Kids cost a lot of money. Natalia then tells Renee that she feels really good about their position because nobody is looking at targeting them, and Renee says they definitely have options moving forward. Maybe they'll become the main decision makers on this tribe. On the Gen Z tribe, Gabe tells everyone that breakfast is ready. In confessional, Gabe says he found a lot of fruit for the tribe early this morning, so it's nice to see everyone smiles now that they can dig into something delicious. Food out here is tough to find, and all they can eat other than fruit are rice and beans. Bobby then tells Gabe he's a legend for finding these fruits. It's so refreshing to see something other than rice and beans for once. Christine then tells the group that if anyone doesn't want the core of their apple, they can pass it on to her. Laura then asks her if she's going to make a work of art with them, but Christine admits she just wants to eat them. Bobby screams and tells Christine she's insane for saying that, but Christine says she's not kidding. Phil then asks her if she's not afraid of getting sick, but Christine says she doesn't do this often. In confessional, Christine says that people can judge her all they want, but she's starving out here. If it means she has to eat the core of an apple, she'll eat the core of an apple. As everyone eats their fruit, Griff tells Gabe he's awesome for finding these, and Gabe says it's not a problem at all. He likes putting smiles on people's faces. In confessional, Phil says he really likes this group of Gen Z. Everyone provides something unique, and Gabe is their general provider out here. Nobody can compare to him. When he's committed to something, he keeps going until he's satisfied. After the fruit breakfast, Caitlin and Christine walk together and subtly look around the jungle for an idol. In confessional, Caitlin says she has grown pretty close to certain people like Christine, Bobby, and Sam from the girls, and then Phil and Henry from the guys. At the moment, she wants to keep working on these relationships. The stronger they are, the better they are for her overall game. Christine then turns to Caitlin and tells her she's curious what this tribe would do if they went to tribal council. It's hard to tell because there isn't an official divide or anything. Caitlin says that people are waiting until an immunity loss before saying a name. There are a lot of passive players at their camp. In confessional, Christine says she sees Caitlin as her ride-or-die girl out here. They have similar mindsets for the game, so it's best if they put their big brains together and play this game as a duo. Gabe, Phil, and Casey chat alone, and Phil says he likes a lot of the people here. It's hard to even think of having to vote someone out. Gabe agrees and says the only people he feels uncertain about are Laura and Griff. He doesn't speak with them that much. They seem like the weakest links right now. Casey grins and says it's funny how he says that because Griff actively hates Laura. It's perfect if those two gun for each other because it keeps everyone else out of harm's way. Gabe then says there will likely be a debate throughout the next few days on whether they should take out Laura or Griff first. Both offer different skills while simultaneously being a liability for the entire tribe. In confessional, Casey says this tribe is very strong physically and socially. The only two that lack in those departments are Laura and Griff. If Gen Z were to lose an immunity challenge, one of them would probably need to go first. A bit later, all the women sit in the shelter as they tell stories about themselves. Laura admits that she once dated a guy in high school and he took her out on a date at some cheap restaurant. She tried to make it as romantic as possible, but his outfit looked crazy, so she couldn't stop laughing every other minute. It's so embarrassing looking back. He literally asked her if she's on her period, and that made the laughing even worse. Bobby then says she actually had a very similar experience, except she laughed in the guy's face because he used to always claim he had a lot of money, but then their first date took place at McDonald's. Caitlin then tells Bobby that her man had evil intentions. At least Lara's attempted to make the date nice. In confessional, Sam says she's getting along really well with the girls. Everyone is super chill and positive. Well, chill is the wrong word to describe Laura. In another confessional, Denisha says she would never be able to tell Laura her own secrets because this girl would leak them the next day. She is quite literally the definition of no filter. In another confessional, Laura says she's just trying to be her true, authentic self out here. No fakeness. Just realness. While a lot of people seem to enjoy her presence around here, it doesn't necessarily mean that they would care enough to keep her around if they were to go to a tribal council. Laura later chats with Christine and Denisha, asking them if they have any idea who the first will go from this tribe if they lose immunity, but Denisha says she truly doesn't have a clue. Christine then says it's too soon to tell because everyone's expectation is that this tribe will continue winning challenges. Laura says she hopes it's not herself going first, and then she laughs it off with the other two. In confessional, Laura says she might be overthinking things, but something is telling her that the vibe is off. Are people out to get her? Is it her personality? Her realness? Or her bald head? Hopefully not. Back on the Millennials tribe, Nick talks to Jed, letting them know that he could tell last night they too were blindsided. Jed admits they thought Lydia was going, so they were blindsided as much as he and Andy were. In confessional, Nick says he needs to crawl out of the bottom of the pit he's in with Andy, so the first order of business is to find other people who would be willing to work with them against the more powerful players of the tribe. Jed is an easy pick because they voted wrong last night. Nick then tells Jed they need to come together if they want to avoid getting picked off. Jed agrees and says something needs to change about this tribe's current standings if they plan to survive. Nick says that their only choice now is to gather 3 other numbers to combat the 4 people in power, and he specifically feels like Lydia, Omar, Candy, and Jamie are the main 4 to worry about. Jed nods and says they especially need to worry about Lydia because she's very clearly the one running those boys. In confessional, Jed says that working with Nick and Andy is the necessary move for their game right now because they are the targets right now for the majority side of the tribe. Nick proposed a pretty good plan, essentially trying to fight back at the main power structure that Lydia is trying to run. Lydia, count your days. Later on, Andy chats with Natalia and Renee, asking them how open they'd be to forming a new alliance with him. Natalia says she honestly doesn't know who to trust right now because she heard her name floating around last round, so she's on edge around every single person here. Andy then says that himself and Nick were actually the 2 main people vouching for her. They did what they could to convince people that she was a solid fighter for this tribe. Renee then tells Natalia she has heard their pitch for her before, so she can trust what Andy is saying. Natalia thanks Andy for helping her out in that case, claiming that she'd very much be open to working with him now. In confessional, Natalia says that her paranoia levels are slowly lowering as she's hearing more and more from people that she's not on anyone's radar. The best thing she can do now is work with the people who have been and still will actively protect her. Natalia then tells the 2 she just wants to know who said her name yesterday. She knows someone or some people did. Andy then says that to his knowledge, Jamie did. Though, it was in a way where he brought up her name as if it was already a mutually agreed plan. Natalia nods and says she'll have to talk to him about this to clear the air a bit, and Andy tells her that would be wise for her. Meanwhile, Lydia and Jamie chat alone, and Jamie tells Lydia he feels really good about their majority right now because almost all of them are strategic-oriented. Lydia says she too loves it, and in confessional, Jamie says he's in a solid majority right now with everyone on this tribe, minus Jed, Nick, and Andy. Those three are the clear outliers at the moment, so unless something crazy happens, those three should remain as targets for everyone. Natalia then joins the two and says she just wanted to ask Jamie a question. Jamie tells her to go ahead, and Natalia says she wants him to be honest with her right now. She wants to know if he said her name yesterday as part of a voting plan. Jamie's face goes cold, and then he explains that he thought most people were going to do that as an easy vote until it switched to Jed. Natalia then asks him where he got her name from specifically, and Jamie says he just made a general assumption in regards to keeping the tribe strong in challenges. Natalia then tells him that's a dumb way of thinking because he made an early assumption that meant nothing afterwards. He should have at least waited until she came back to know her full condition. Lydia then chimes in to tell Natalia she shouldn't be worried about her name coming up again, but Natalia tells Lydia this doesn't involve her. She's trying to get Jamie to understand that he can't just spread her name out there willy-nilly. Jamie then tells Natalia he never spread her name around, and Natalia says she hopes so. In confessional, Jamie says he has no idea what has gotten into Natalia to attack him like this. He's being straight up and honest with her. Plus, nobody voted her at the previous tribal council, so exploding on an alliance member is crazy work. Not too long after, Omar, Lydia, Kendi, and Jamie come together, and Lydia says she and Jamie just spoke with Natalia and they have no idea what they just witnessed and what it means for their group moving forward. Jamie then explains to Omar and Kendi that Natalia pressured him about her name coming up yesterday, but he tried to tell her she was a plan by default ever since she got injured. Kendi then says that this shows that Natalia is more of an emotional player in this game, so they need to tread lightly around her. Jamie then says he personally feels like there's no point in keeping her if she's going to be a loose cannon who could flip at any moment. She's also nothing special in challenge for their team. In confessional, Lydia says that Jamie might have a point. If Millennials lose another immunity, they might need to continue picking off their weak tribe members, and Natalia is right there as a solid option. It still leaves Nick, Andy, and Jed out of power while simultaneously getting rid of someone who could lead the tribe on a full-on losing streak. It's day 4, and the tribes arrive at their mats for the next immunity challenge. Justin then confirms to the Gen Z tribe that Jane was the first person voted out from Millennials. He then requests for the immunity statue back, so Sam hands it over to him. Justin then confirms that immunity is back up for grabs. For today's challenge, 9 of the 10 competing members will need to run through shallow water one at a time and retrieve a colored bag. They must bring the bag back to the start so the next person can go. Once all 9 are retrieved, the 10th member will run through the water and go past the first checkpoint to the giant wall further ahead. They will need to memorize the order of the bags and then come back to that initial checkpoint. There, they will need to yell out the order of the colored bags so the other 9 can put them in the correct order. The first tribe to get all bags in the correct order will win immunity, safe from tribal council. The losers will need to vote out the second person from Millennials versus Gen Z. Everyone is now set up for the challenge, and the person sitting out for Gen Z is Laura. On Millennials, the person who will memorize the color order later on is Andy, and on Gen Z, it's Phil. With that, the challenge begins, so Lydia and Griff are up first for their tribes. Both make it to the other side at the same time and then run back with their bags. Once both are back, Bobby is up for Gen Z while Kendi is up for Millennials. Kendi whips through the shallow water and reaches the checkpoint, while Bobby is still 3/4 of the way there. As Kendi rushes back, he slips into the water. Bobby meanwhile grabs her bag and starts running back, though very exhausted. Kendi eventually makes it back with his bag, so Nick starts whipping through the water next. Bobby makes it back with her bag, so Christine is up next for Gen Z. Nick reaches the checkpoint and quickly heads back with his bag, and Christine starts falling behind for her tribe as she goes at a slower pace. Once she reaches the checkpoint, Nick is already back with his bag, so Jamie heads out next. Casey starts yelling out to Christine to hurry up, but Caitlin tells Casey to pass on some words of encouragement instead. Jamie then reaches the checkpoint and starts heading back, and Christine finally makes it back with her bag. Casey then dashes out next, while Jamie makes it back with the fourth bag for the Millennials. Natalia then heads up next for her tribe, and Casey quickly gets to the checkpoint meanwhile. As Casey runs back, Natalia moves at a slow pace, finding it difficult to run through the water. Casey quickly makes it back with his bag, yelling out for Henry to go, so Henry quickly makes his way out. Sam and Caitlin meanwhile tell Casey to chill out, and Casey apologizes. Henry makes quick work as he catches up to Natalia, and both him and Natalia start heading back with their bags. Once again, Natalia runs slower than everyone else has in this challenge, losing a lot of time for the Millennials. Henry eventually gets back, so Caitlin starts heading out. Natalia finally gets back with her bag, so Renee heads out next. Caitlin gets to her bag, while Renee is only halfway through the water. Natalia sits out on the ground, out of breath, and Lydia asks her if she's good. Meanwhile, Caitlin returns with the sixth bag for Gen Z, so Sam heads out for the seventh. Renee finally starts making her way back with the sixth bag for Millennials, while Sam is already at the checkpoint for the seventh bag. Both Renee and Sam are neck and neck, though Gen Z still has the lead. Sam makes it back first, so Denisha starts running for the eighth bag. Renee also gets back for her tribe, so Jed starts heading out for the seventh bag. Both Denisha and Jed reach the checkpoint at the same time, so they start heading back, eventually both getting back with their bags. Gabe is the last person up for Gen Z, while Omar heads out for the eighth for Millennials. As both guys get to their bags, Sam tells Phil to memorize the first letter or two of each color so he can remember the order easier. Omar gets back before Gabe, so Rhea makes her way out for the final bag for her tribe. Gabe also then gets back, so Phil begins running to the wall. Rhea then reaches the checkpoint for the final bag, while Phil continues running on to the wall. Once there, he begins memorizing the order of the bags out loud, even humming a tune for himself to help remember it. Rhea eventually returns with the final bag for Millennials, so Andy rushes through the water to get to the wall. Everyone else waits for Phil and Andy, staring out as they watch Andy get closer to his wall. He then makes it there and starts memorizing the order in his head. Phil then begins making his way back to the checkpoint, and the rest of his tribe prepares to move the bags around. Once Phil reaches the checkpoint, he begins shouting out the colors to them. Lydia then asks her tribe if they should copy, so people begin copying the order that Gen Z has. As Phil continues shouting out the colors, Andy continues to memorize the order of his. Phil continues shouting out colors, and Gen Z copy every single color he shouts. They get to their last two, and Phil shouts out green to them. Nick quickly places the last two colors for Millennials and shouts out to Justin that they are done. Gen Z also then finish and look over at the Millennials, but Justin tells them their order is wrong. As for Gen Z, they have the correct order, meaning Gen Z wins immunity, safe from tribal council. Nick then shouts out loud, asking how they are wrong, and Rhea says both tribes have a different color order. Back on the mats, Justin congratulates the Gen Z tribe, so Henry heads up for the immunity statue. Justin confirms that Gen Z will rest well tonight. As for the Millennials, they will take a trip back to Tribal Council tonight where they will vote out the second person from Millennials versus Gen Z. With that, both tribes begin making their way back to camp, and in confessional, Jamie says it's very clear this tribe lacks in physical strength. Their weakest tribe members are bringing them down in these challenges, and Natalia is specifically the one bringing them down. It may be her time to go tonight if they expect to win an immunity in the future. Back at the Millennials camp, Natalia apologizes to everyone for her poor performance today. Andy tells her there were a few of them who struggled anyway, including himself. In confessional, Lydia says that tonight could be the perfect chance for her to take out Jed. Jed said her name last time, so it only makes sense for her to return the favor and vote them out tonight. Jamie walks with Kendi away from camp, letting him know that he's thinking of voting out Natalia tonight. Kendi agrees, claiming that they need to keep the tribe's strength intact. In confessional, Kendi says he is putting a lot of trust in the group he's aligned with. He is just playing this game from day to day, so if it's not him on the chopping block, he's happy. If Natalia is the vote, that's fine. Jamie then says that they should probably not act super suspicious around Natalia and Renee to prevent them from flipping. If those two flip, they can work with Jed, Andy, and Nick to take out someone from their main alliance. Kendi nods and says his lips will be sealed around Natalia and Renee. Meanwhile, Natalia rants to Renee and Andy about Jamie, calling Jamie a sketchball. Renee asks her what she means by that, and Natalia says she can't trust his sketchy behavior. He has said her name in the past and refuses to acknowledge he wanted her gone. Renee then asks Natalia if she'd maybe want to vote out Lydia instead, but Natalia says she feels more comfortable doing Jamie tonight. In confessional, Andy says he doesn't mind who goes home tonight, as long as it's not him or Nick. If it's Jamie, awesome. If it's Lydia, even better. Kendi, Omar, Rhea, and Lydia chat at camp, and Kendi confirms that he heard Natalia's name for tonight's vote. Omar asks him if that came from Jamie, and Kendi says yes. Omar then says that they need to keep the others in the dark and make sure those 5 split their votes. In confessional, Omar says that tonight's vote comes down to simple math. There's 5 people voting together, that being himself, Rhea, Lydia, Kendi, and Jamie. Natalia and Renee will think the vote is for Nick, while Nick and Andy think it's Jed. Therefore, his group of 5 have control over who goes home. Lydia then asks the group if they feel like voting out Natalia is even the right thing to do. Maybe it's too early to flip on her since they just voted together. Rhea then asks Lydia who she'd rather do in that case, and Lydia says she feels like Jed would be a better vote for them. In confessional, Lydia says she doesn't think voting out Natalia tonight is the smart move for the alliance. By flipping on Natalia, they also lose Renee in the process. Everyone is better off with more numbers, so it doesn't make sense to lose some when they don't need to take that chance. This paves a perfect path to vote out Jed, who isn't in the main alliance and is actively against her. Omar then says he's open to switching it to Jed, but they also have to keep in mind that they will come back to tribal council again and again if they don't keep their challenge strength alive. Lydia says that she understands that aspect, hence why she's not fully sure yet if the move is Jed or Natalia. Nick, Natalia, and Jed chat, and Natalia tells the two that Jamie needs to go. She can't trust him and she'd rather keep everyone else from this tribe. Jed says they are 100% on board, and so does Nick. Omar and Rhea then approach the 3 of them, and Omar asks what's up. Natalia then tells him that she wants tonight's vote to land on Jamie. He's going after her, so she's hitting him back. In confessional, Omar says he's not happy hearing Jamie's name from Natalia's mouth, especially since she's rallying people like Nick and Jed. This likely means that Nick, Jed, Andy, Renee, and Natalia are all voting for Jamie. If that's the case, tonight's vote might actually tie. Rhea then says she's willing to do Jamie if that's what the majority of the tribe want, and Natalia says that's absolutely what the majority of the tribe want. They can literally confirm it right here as a 5. She has Renee, and Nick probably has Andy. Nick confirms he can tell Andy, meaning they have 7 votes locked in. In confessional, Natalia says she's not afraid to lead the pack if her game is on the line. If she sat down and did nothing, she'd likely go home unanimously. By rallying up some troops, she might actually save herself tonight. After the conversation, Omar and Rhea are alone, and Omar says he's not feeling too great about the whole vote situation now. Now it's looking like a 5 versus 5. Ria agrees and asks if there's maybe someone they can flip over, and Omar says he doesn't know. They might need to discuss with the others to see who they could maybe convince to vote with them. In confessional, Ria says she really hopes this vote doesn't go to a tie. It would be way too messy for a tie this early, especially since there honestly aren't two solid sides going for each other. Natalia and Jamie have a rivalry going on, so if one of them were to go tonight, the dynamics might still be fluid. Omar later finds Lydia and Jamie, so he immediately warns them that they need to get a 6th vote on their side because Natalia is rallying up the entire minority to go for Jamie. Lydia asks if that crew knows about their Core 5 alliance, but Omar says he doesn't know. Something is fishy. Jamie then says they might need to get Jed on board to vote with them. Maybe they can convince Jed that Nick and Andy aren't in their best interest. Lydia then says it's not worth targeting Nick and Andy right now because Jed wouldn't sacrifice challenge strength. They need to stick to voting out Natalia at this point. In confessional, Jamie says he's starting to feel more nervous now because apparently there are 5 people planning to vote for him tonight. The alliance needs another number more than ever now to avoid a tie situation. If this vote deadlocks tonight, a rock draw will determine who goes home, and that would be terrible if one of his allies goes home to that rock draw. Omar later finds Jed alone searching for an idol, so he approaches them and asks if they have a minute. Jed says sure, so Omar says he wants to connect with them regarding this vote because he doesn't want to leave them out tonight. Jed then says that they are going off of what Natalia said earlier, which is to vote out Jamie. Omar then asks Jed if they feel comfortable going with that crew, considering Nick and Andy are tight with Natalia and Renee now. Jed rubs their chin and says that's a good point, and in confessional, Jed says that tonight's vote will likely draw a line in the sand. If Jamie goes home, that leaves Lydia and Kendi on the outs. If Natalia goes, however, that leaves Renee, Andy, and Nick on the bottom. There's not much trust at all with Lydia and Kendi, but Nick and Andy have said their name last round, so it's honestly a toss-up now. Omar then says he wants to prioritize tribe strength tonight, which does lead to voting out Natalia. Jed then says they'll think about it because if Natalia goes home and Jamie stays, Lydia grows stronger, and that's a problem for them. Omar tells Jed to think about it then and they'll connect back before Tribal Council to discuss if needed. As Tribal Council nears, Jamie finds an opportunity to talk with Andy and Nick, so he asks them if they heard about the Natalia plan for tonight. Nick says they haven't, and Andy asks if that's what the consensus is right now. Jamie confirms that there's basically 5 votes against her right now, so they'd be the 6th and 7th votes. Jed might also join in, which would make it 8. It's a pretty foolproof plan. Andy then asks him what they can expect moving forward if Natalia does go home, and Jamie says that Renee and Jed would be the next ones gone. If they must go to yet another tribal after that, then things are wide open once again. In confessional, Nick says he's lucky to have an idol on him because it gives him more options than if he didn't have one. If Natalia gets voted out near unanimously, the idol could be used later on if him and Andy are in hot water. However, is that worth the risk? If he and Andy vote for Jamie tonight, that weakens Lydia, Kendi, and potentially even Omar if he's sticking with them. This is turning out to be a last-minute decision due to how crucial it'll be for his game moving forward. It's night 4, and the Millennials arrive at Tribal Council and are seated in front of Justin. Justin welcomes them back, letting them know that they are going to go from 10 to just 9 in just 4 days. Justin starts off by asking Andy if there's anyone to blame for these back-to-back challenge losses, and Andy admits that there's a group of people he believes are doing better in the challenge over others. Just for the record, he doesn't consider himself part of that group because he sucked pretty badly at the memorization portion of today's immunity challenge. Justin then asks Ria if challenge strength truly is the problem with this tribe, but Ria says she feels like they've been close enough to beating the Gen Z tribe both times now to where it shouldn't be too much of a concern to keep the tribe strong. Nick then speaks up, claiming that he feels like this whole discussion of challenge strength is pointless because nobody is voting that way. Justin then asks Nick if he's sure, considering he noticed a few people make a doubtful face in reaction to that, and Nick says that he's not looking at challenge strength. Maybe others are, but he can't dictate their decisions. Natalia then tells Justin that she would like to bring something up. Justin tells her to go right ahead, and so Natalia explains that she's sitting here feeling like she's being targeted by a specific someone, and that specific someone is Jamie. The reason she brings this up is because Jamie has lied to her on multiple occasions to try covering his own ass, but she sees right through his lies. Jamie asks her what lies, and Natalia asks if he's the one who said her name when she was being medically assessed. Jamie tells her he did not, and he already went over this with her. Natalia then says she doesn't believe him because she has heard from multiple people that he was one of the main people pushing that idea forward. Jamie then explains to Justin that it's very annoying when someone takes something so seriously and will never let it go because they can't make logical decisions and will instead tunnel vision. Lydia then says she'd like to add to that point because having tunnel vision on Survivor is extremely dangerous. It could lead to your demise because it's more of a self-interested move than one that benefits most of the tribe. Natalia then thanks Lydia for her input, but she doesn't need it right now. Justin then asks Jed why they are smiling so much, and Jed says they can't hide their giddiness. This might be the most fun they've had out here. Justin then asks them if they know which way they are voting tonight, and Jed says it's basically a battle between Natalia and Jamie. One of them may go, or maybe a tie will go down. Justin then asks Omar if a tie is plausible with the current dynamics of this tribe, and Omar says he feels like it isn't because it's too soon to draw rocks. This tribe should make a united decision rather than a split one. Jamie agrees and says that going home because of a rock draw is probably one of the worst ways to go. Omar says he knows a certain someone who was the victim to that a few seasons ago, but Natalia jumps in and asks what the point of this whole discussion is. If they want to scare away people from keeping her tonight, stop being so obvious about it. Jamie then tells Natalia he doesn't know why she's so pressed about every single thing he says and does, but Natalia tells him that he said her name first. If anything, he should blame himself for all of this. Justin then asks if they are all ready to vote, and everyone nods. He then tells them it's time to vote, so they all prepare.
I'll tally the votes. If anyone has a hidden immunity idol and they want to play it, now would be the time to do so. Alright, I'll read the votes. First vote, Jamie. Natalia. That's one vote Jamie, one vote Natalia. Jamie. Natalia. 2 votes Jamie, 2 votes Natalia. Jamie. That's 3 votes Jamie. Natalia. We're tied. 3 votes Jamie, 3 votes Natalia. Jamie. Natalia. Tied again. 4 votes Jamie, 4 votes Natalia. Jamie. That's 5 votes Jamie, 4 votes Natalia, 1 vote left. Second person voted out of Survivor Millennials vs Gen Z. Jamie.
Jamie immediately gets up in sighs, while Natalia smiles from relief. Kendi looks at Omar, but Omar shrugs in confusion. Rhea meanwhile stares ahead, avoiding any eye contact with anyone else. Jamie places his torch next to Justin and watches it get snuffed. He then thanks everyone for a wonderful experience and most people say goodbye to him. He then makes his way out, and Natalia exhales and says she can breathe now. Justin then tells the tribe to head back to camp, so they all begin making their way back. Next time on Millennials vs Gen Z, with Lydia, Kendi, and Omar ditched by Rhea at the previous vote, an attempt is made to come back together and figure out how to get their numbers back. However, with a kidnap reward on the line, will the dynamics of the Millennials tribe completely shift if they lose or gain a new member temporarily? Season 9 is only getting started, so strap in for an episode full of chaos. Jamie's final thoughts. Jamie admits he was blindsided by the 6-4 result on him. Something happened tonight that caused someone within the 5 to flip, and he suspects Omar did it. He has been the most active in speaking with the other side of the tribe today, so perhaps he struck some sort of deal or truce that led him to siding with Natalia. All in all, this has been a fun experience and he'd do it again in a heartbeat.